Hi, my name is Sam and welcome to my YouTube channel. Since June is Pride Month, I thought we'd have a little chat about what Pride means to me, how I feel about it as a gay guy, but also as a singing drag queen. And I would love to know your thoughts on it too, and your experience with Pride and the LGBTQ+ community, and your own personal experience as a member of that community if you are one. So feel free to leave me a comment with your thoughts. And speaking of which, it would be great if you could like this video and subscribe to my channel down below, because it means a lot to me and the channel, as it helps it grow faster. So, I have to say, I might have some potentially unpopular opinions about this, so do let me know if you agree or disagree. And this is more a journey of discovery, actually, I would say. Now, as I mentioned in my previous video, where I told you about my relationship with drag and the gay community, I'm gay, alright, but I'm not really part of the gay culture in terms of references when it comes to films or songs and music, and I don't know when songs came out, which year, which album of whichever artist they belong to. So I am a bit on the outside all of this, and even as a drag queen, I don't particularly like or have much drag culture in me. I love being a drag queen because it allows me to perform. I'm a singing drag queen. So my perspective might be of someone who is on the inside but on the outskirts, I would say. I have to be completely honest. I mainly base all my opinions on what I see in London, which is where I live, and London Pride, which I don't actually like, and I'll tell you why later. And because in London we are all so free, we can be whatever we want, really. There is no limit to what people can be. It's great. Sometimes, or in the past, I used to think that Pride as a form of protest, which is what Pride originally is and was a little bit unnecessary. It just turned into a big party, and it's always good to have a good reason to party. But sometimes, because I feel like I live in this bubble of London, not even England, just London, in the past, I used to make the mistake of thinking that, we were over it. It was time to, move on. We can all be gay, we can all be whatever we want, and that's fine. Let's find something else to protest against. But over the years, I've also realised that that's a very it's just not the truth. And I have also realised that I forget sometimes my own experience and my own upbringing. I come from a village in the middle of nowhere in the north of Italy with 500 inhabitants, and throughout my life, I've always known that I was gay. I never found out. I knew the moment I was born, and I always knew that I just couldn't be gay, because where I'm from, I have to be completely honest, it's not that anyone ever spoke against being gay. It's just no one talked about it at all. I mean, it was not a thing. I'm 33 this year, so we're talking about the 90s, in the middle of nowhere, in the north of Italy. So it's not, I have to say, as much of a bigot as my grandmother is. I love her, but she is a bit of a, well, she is a lot of a bigot. Like, she never said, you know, the gays are disgusting, you know, don't be gay, look at those gays. It was just not a topic of discussion, and I think that alone made it very clear that it was wrong to be gay. But again, I never heard any active words against this world. We just knew that being gay was wrong. So obviously I grew up trying to hide this side of me as much as I could. I'm not entirely sure I did a very good job at it. I think I could fake being straight for a little while, but I was severely bullied as a child, not only because I was a swot and everyone hated me for that, but also because I was gay. Obviously I spent all my time with the girls in my class. But for example, my mum never suspected anything about me being gay. But I think it's because of her own upbringing. Maybe she didn't want to see it, not in a negative way. She just didn't see it because, yes, the longer I live in London, the more flamboyant I become. But especially when I was younger, I wasn't extremely flamboyant because I was trying to suppress it. And also, yes, I mean, I wasn't gay in your face, let's put it like that. So I can sort of see why she may not have noticed it up to a point. But again, this is no criticism against my mum. It's just how she experienced this whole thing, and we will talk about parents in a moment. But because hiding who I was became the norm for me, I sort of lived with that. And when I was growing up, I knew that I was gay, but I also knew that I did not want to be in a relationship. I had this thing in me that told me that I did not want to be in a relationship. I knew that if I ever was going to be in a relationship, it would be with a man. But because I didn't care about that, I didn't think it was worth mentioning it or even making a big fuss about it. Because yes, I liked men physically, sexually, but that in my head was the extent that my gayness was going to go to. I didn't really understand that. Of course, I mean, being gay is very much related to who you find sexually attractive, but also there is a whole part of your personality that comes with it. I didn't know that. But then when I moved to London 14 years ago, it still took me a good year to come out in school, because I didn't go to university, but I did a 2-year acting course to become a screen actor. And even the first year, I mean, I didn't want to come out, although, I mean, obviously everyone knew. And then, yes, I only now, well, recently did I understand that my upbringing and the circumstances of my upbringing really had an impact on me and really scarred me. And I have to be, again, completely honest, when you listen to coming out stories, and these are primarily guys, those are the ones that talk about it more more than girls, I would say. They talk about how terrible their experience was growing up and how this scarred them for life. And again, in the past, I used to think, I mean, really? Is it really that intense? But now, the more I analyse it, the more I see that it did scar me as well. Not in a way that almost drove me to suicide or anything like that. I mean, I am lucky that it never got to that point. But there are a lot of more subtle things that I never realised had affected me negatively regarding this topic. So the more I think about it, the more I realise that yes, we still need pride. I mean, the celebration itself, like the one day of celebration, I find quite irrelevant. It's just a good chance to party, to be together. I like how it brings people together the same way I like how sports bring people together. I detest sports, but I love how everyone comes together to watch a match of whatever sport. So I love how everyone comes together to celebrate Pride, but what happens on Pride Day I find quite, again, irrelevant towards the community, and I'll expand on that. So yes, because I have it so easy here, and in all fairness, I had it easy back home as well, because although, again, I couldn't fully be myself and all of that, again, I was never in danger. And now, even now that I've come out to my family, and I'm not just gay, I'm a drag queen as well, so that's an extra step for people to accept. I know my family are all still there. No one has disowned me or anything like that. So I have had it easy, I would say. So because, again, I've had an easy go with it, I sometimes forget that it's not always the case. And don't get me wrong, even here in London we hear about homophobia and homophobic attacks, especially to drag queens, but even with that, I am lucky enough that nothing has ever happened to me. I do my makeup at home, and then I take public transport with my face fully done, without the wig and without my dress, but people can say I'm a drag queen when I go to the venue and also when I come back home. I know of people that have been hit in the past. I personally have never had anything like that, so I am lucky. So it's almost like, although I hear about these things, I can't really see them with my own eyes. So I used to think of, again, this is just a little bit much, come on now. But it's true, we do need, maybe again not the day of celebration, but we do need more awareness, because I keep forgetting that I know people who are here as refugees because they can't be gay in their home country. And when I hear these things, they feel so far away from me that I sort of struggle to even comprehend what that means. Almost like, when it's something that happens in the films, but it's not really true. But yes, recently I found out that someone that I know is here as a refugee because of that, and it really, I could feel my heart sort of being crushed, because I love being back home where I'm from. I love my family, and I have that big strong connection with them. So the thought of having to run away to flee my country and my family with no chance of me going back because I'm gay. I mean, I can't. That's the thing. I just can't understand it. I can't even wrap my head around it. I almost can't believe it happens, or at least that it still happens nowadays. And I read something the other day that said we still need pride because today, somewhere in the world, a gay person still wants to kill themselves because they're gay. Because in some countries, as we know, it's illegal to be gay, to the point where obviously you may want to kill yourself. Which I have to say is also something that I've changed my mind a lot about, because in the past, because I sort of survived suppressing my gayness for 18 years, and I always used to think, well, come on, if I can do it, I mean, is it really that terrible to hide it? But then it is. Now I know that it is, and it's easy for me to say this because now I am in a situation where I don't have to hide it. But if I think about the fact that, I mean, I came out to my whole family, again, not just as gay, but as a drag queen, this, like a couple of months ago, so I could release a video, one of my videos that I made here of me getting into drag. So if I think about the fact that if I'd stayed in my hometown, I probably would have had to be in the closet for an extra 18 years. So I came here when I was 14 years, sorry, because I came here when I was 19, and then I slowly started being myself. So if I think about the fact that maybe if I'd stayed, I would have had to not be myself for another 14 years up until today. Again, it feels so alien that I can't even imagine what that would have felt like. But even I can tell it would not have felt good. Yes, it must be terrible. And again, it's in some cases, unfortunately, LGBTQ plus people might lose family members. I mean, the family members might disown them even today, which is sad. I'm sure it happens in Italy still, but it's still not illegal to be gay. So to live in a country where it's illegal to be gay, that must really, really kill you from the inside out. And again, I can't even begin to imagine what that must feel like. So there definitely needs to be some kind of continuous awareness towards the LGBTQ plus community. And the older I get, the more I fully understand it, and I feel really bad and ignorant for having had those more dismissive thoughts in the past towards the gravity of the situation. Yes, I think that's the thing. Because of how more or less lucky I've been in my own experience, I've always dismissed and underestimated the gravity of the situation somewhere else in the world. Also, I'm extremely ignorant when it comes to geography and politics, so some of these things that happen in other countries I don't even know. I genuinely don't even know, which is not an excuse, but it is what it is. A few years ago, I did a show for a bank for Pride. It's very common for companies to do something a little bit more LGBTQ plus for Pride Month, just to spice things up and to bring more awareness to the subject. I'm a singing queen, so I did a singing show, but a lot of companies do bingo, drag bingo, or other activities. And after my show, we had a Q&A where the employees there asked me questions about my own experience and also things about their own lives. And there were parents of children who were discovering their sexuality, who were confused about their sexuality and gender identity. So I had parents who had children who might be gay or transgender. I also back to, well, if I think about my mum accepting and even finding out that I'm gay and then accepting it. I'm not a parent, and I do not want to be a parent, so this is just the opinion of an external person. But I really do feel for parents, because this must be a very hard thing to navigate. Not because there is anything wrong with being gay, obviously, but especially considering the fact that now it's becoming more and more common for young children to not just to understand and discover that they might belong to the LGBTQ plus community, but also they can voice this in the part. I mean, I never found out, I always knew, but I could not really say anything. Maybe if I were the same child that I was 30 years ago today, maybe I would have told my mum when I was 7, and who knows how that would have impacted my life for the better, I would assume. So I think now parents have a lot more to deal with because their children are more prone to simply tell them, like, Mum or Dad, I think I'm gay, or I think I'm transgender. And I think there is so much pressure on parents, and I do feel sorry for them. And this might be one of my unpopular opinions, but do let me know what you think. There is obviously a lot of we're brutally aggressive towards anyone who has anything against the LGBTQ plus community, which is great. But I think what is now missing is the acceptance from our side as the LGBTQ plus community of the fact that it's still something slightly shocking for someone to discover and find out that they belong to the LGBTQ plus community, but also for the people around this person to accept. And I think the negative and detrimental behaviour that we have towards this is the fact that now the minute you say anything that might remotely suggest that you had one single moment of hesitation when your child, for example, told you that they're gay, then you're a terrible person, you're a terrible parent, you should be hanged publicly, you should be burnt at the stake. And I think that's really bad on our side. Now, I'll try to expand on that. And I'm not a psychologist, I'm not an anthropologist, this is just my own personal opinion. Now, it's amazing that there are people, let's talk about parents now, who say from the get-go that they really do not care what kind of gender identity and sexual orientation their child has. They just want them to be happy. Perfect, it's great, and it's amazing that we have people like that. But I also think we should be more understanding and more lenient towards those that do struggle a little bit, because I don't think there is anything wrong with struggling, and I think this is where our constant attack on the straights is a bit excessive and counterproductive. Now, my idea is this: if you're straight, a straight man with a straight woman, and you have a child, as a straight person, you have a straight brain. So, again, this is just my idea. I don't know if it's true, but if you're let's talk about a straight father. Yeah, if you're a straight dad, a straight man who's also a straight dad, obviously, you think straight. So for you, it's natural, it's obvious that men like women because you like women. So I think there is absolutely nothing wrong with you as a straight dad thinking that your, let's say, son should like girls, because in my head, your own brain tells it that you like women, so you automatically think that every man, especially your son, maybe not should, but would like women. If you're a straight woman, you would think the same of your daughter or even your son. So you know that you're, as a straight woman, you know that women like men, so you would expect your son to like women, and you would expect your daughter to like men. Now, I think this is the problem. I don't think there is anything wrong with this. I don't think straight parents who would naturally expect their children to follow in their footsteps. So I don't think there is anything wrong with that. So when your son tells you that he's gay, I don't think there is anything wrong with being a bit shocked, potentially slightly disappointed as well, because again, it just goes against what your brain tells you. And I'm not saying that it's natural. It's the world made it natural that men like women and women like men. But for you as a straight man, your brain tells you that it's a natural thing to do. The same way for me, I mean, my brain tells me it's natural for men to like men. But even then, because it's more common for men to like women, I would usually expect a young boy to like women. So even if I have that thought as a gay man, as a drag queen, I don't think there is anything wrong with a straight parent to have that expectation. And I don't think there is anything wrong with a parent being slightly taken aback, caught off guard, and again, potentially a little bit disappointed even, because again, a man liking a man goes against what a straight brain tells a straight man. So, when I said this to these parents, I saw a lot of relief in them, because I think they felt terrible for having that moment of hesitation, potentially disappointment when they found out. And I don't think that there is anything wrong. I think what makes you a good or a bad parent, or person in general, is how then you react to this. You know, I think you're a bad parent if you then act on this disappointment or on this thing that feels slightly unnatural to you, by then, disowning your children, or, not accepting them, kicking them out. That makes a bad person. If you have a bit of hesitation, but then realise that it's only in your head, it's just an irrational and unfounded reaction, that's great. So if you understand that, and then so work on yourself to accept something that is alien to you, to your brain and to your heart, because you were not programmed like that. You were programmed straight. So now you're faced with something that goes against the your DNA, the coding in your the code in your brain. There's nothing wrong with being a bit upset and a bit shocked, but then if you then work on yourself to accept it, that's what makes you a good parent. And as I said, when I said these words, a lot of these parents were relieved, because I could see that they felt like a weight had been lifted off their shoulders, because I think they felt heard in their struggle to understand something that they were not built to understand. Again, I might be completely wrong. Feel free to disagree and let me know in the comments. But I think this is very important, to allow people to be shocked. I think that's very important, and I think the fact that now you can't breathe, you can't say, you can't breathe any kind of words that might be remotely connected to the fact that you had a moment of hesitation when you were 20 and you thought for a split second that being gay was wrong. Now you must die. That's not the right attitude, in my opinion, and I think that's where the LGBTQ plus community is doing wrong. Also, what I always say is that as accepting as you can be, and even I as a gay guy, I mean, who wakes up one day and say, oh, I really want to be a parent and I really want my child to be gay? Who says that? I mean, of course there's nothing wrong with that, but it's not the first thought that crosses your mind, not even for me. So yeah, it's fine not to be 100% fully on board, the first 10 seconds that someone tells you they're gay or they're part of the LGBTQ plus community. I don't think there is anything wrong. And also, we need to remember that ideally our parents love us. So telling them that we don't belong to the most widely accepted lifestyle and behaviour out there means that we are subject to potential hate crimes and to discrimination. So the fact that a parent knows that also makes them feel uncomfortable, and rightly so, because they want, again, ideally to protect us. So by telling them by telling my mum that I'm gay, I'm telling her that I am exposing myself to more hate crimes. When I tell her I'm a drag queen, of course I'm exposing her to the fact that I might get beaten up. It's more likely that I will get beaten up than your average gay guy. Of course it shouldn't happen, but it still does. So we also need to understand that these people, if their shock comes from a good place, they are worried for our safety and security. So yeah, I mean, I was having this conversation with a straight friend of mine, and he said something very true and very unfortunately true, but very important. He said, yes, I am a straight white male, and I wish for my son that he is white. He knows that he will be white, but I really hope for my son's safety that he is a straight white male, because he has it easier. Now, I know that nowadays it's a crime to be male, it's a crime to be straight, it's a crime to be white, and I disagree with all of that, because you can't help these things. You can't help being a man, you can't help being white, and you can't help being straight if that's how you were born. And he said, although it's sad that we live in a world where these traits will keep you safe, it's sad that that's the situation, but because that is a situation that we live in, I really hope that my son has all of those qualities, because his life will be easier. And again, there is nothing wrong. This is just a very acute scientific analysis of reality. So yes, why not? I mean, it's a legitimate thought to have, and I hate the fact that nowadays people would, oh gosh, they would, have his head for breakfast if he said something like that. But no, there's nothing wrong with saying something scientifically accurate and scientifically smart. Yes, I mean, if you had to choose what to be, why not be the thing that gives you the most benefits and advantages in life? Whether that's correct or not, that's another discussion, but technically it makes sense. Now, quickly going back to London Pride. I will be making a video specifically on London Pride, which is on the 29th of June. Now, I find it boring because it's so busy that you can't really enjoy it. It's amazing to see all these people flooding onto the streets. Soho, the central gay area, is packed. It's amazing to see that. But even when it comes to the parade is very boring because it's very long, and also you can't really do anything. You just have to find a spot if you can, and then there are the floats march and parade within barriers. You can't even join the parade. You can't walk with the float of the company that you want to support. So you just stand there again if you even manage to find a spot, and you just watch all these floats, all these people marching past you. It's boring. I've just come back from Gran Canaria Pride, where you could follow the floats. It was amazing. I am going to Sitges for Pride this week, which will be last week for you watching this, and I'll make a video about that too. I'm very excited to see how it works. So I have to say, London, I am happy that I'm a drag queen, because that means that I work all day long and I have just a little bit of time to catch a couple of shows here and there. I'm part of a dance group, and usually they do a show, and usually the times match perfectly, so they perform in between my shows, so I can go and see them. But I'm happy that I have an excuse not to try to desperately find something to do, because it's very hard to be with friends unless you meet far away from the centre. So you meet together and you go together. It's very hard to then, so if you don't do that, it's very hard to just meet people in central London. So you would have to go as a group from further away. So the chances are you will end up being alone, and then because there are so many people, it's, well, again, luckily I don't drink, but even if you want to drink, it's hard to get into venues to get anything. Then there are a lot of after parties, which I think is the easiest step of the process, because by then people decide to go to different venues for different nights, so that's a bit more selective, so there won't be as many people as on the street, obviously. But yes, it's not the most thrilling for me. And one last thing about the importance of Pride as a concept, but not necessarily as a celebration, which is what I mentioned earlier. I perform in a lot of straight venues with a lot of straight people, and what I always say to them is that, well, I thank them, because these people will not go to Pride, I can tell. And there's nothing wrong with not wanting to go to Pride. That's another thing. There is nothing wrong with not wanting to go to a parade. So if you're a straight person who supports the community but doesn't want to physically be there, please, there's no judgment from me, so please do know that. The people that I perform for, I know that they won't go to Pride. But what I say to them is I just thank them for being there. I host a weekly karaoke on a Thursday in a straight pub, and the mere fact that these straight people come to their straight pub to do karaoke with a man dressed as a woman, that's support enough. So yeah, my point is that the support doesn't come from that one day that you go to Pride. It's obviously great if you do go, but your support comes from making being part of the LGBTQ plus community feel normal to us. So the mere fact that you come to this venue and you are happy to do karaoke with a pseudo woman like me, that's good enough. We don't have to talk about it. I don't have to lecture you on Pride. I don't have to lecture you on what it means to be gay, because the fact that you're just there and you don't care, that's what matters. That's the best thing. The fact that you don't care that I am a man, a woman, something in between. And so that alone is support, and I prefer that to, you going to a parade, because then what we often forget is that it started out as a protest, but now it's just a party. So some people may just be there for the party and for the great environment, regardless of what it means. And to be honest, that's what we do as well. I mean, some of us are very political, but not all of us are. So we just like the situation, we just like the atmosphere. Okay, now I think I've talked too much as today as well, so let me know in the comments what you think, if you agree with any of my opinions, if anything struck a chord with you, if you disagree, if you've ever been to London Pride, what you thought about it, and I will keep you posted on Sidge's Pride, and I think that's the only other Pride that I'm going to do apart from Gran Canaria, which I did earlier on in May. And on that note, I will let you go. Goodbye.